Welcome, everybody. We will just give others a few moments to join us, but thank you very much for joining me for this very, very special presentation. This one means a lot to me. It really is taking my 30 plus years of coaching and how that's evolved and the things I've learned, and trying to distill some of that best information into a presentation for you now to try and hopefully give you some insights to what I believe is a more effective way of helping you learn and play the game of golf, one that's more sustainable and can help you get better results. So thank you for joining me. While we're just waiting for others to join, please feel free to, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from for this presentation. I know we have a fairly international audience now, so maybe just put it in the chat box. If you have any questions as I go through the presentation, I won't look at them while I'm doing it, but if there's time, I'll go through at the end. And even if there isn't, I will answer them after the presentation, but feel free to just put those into the chat bar if you have any questions as we go through. And as I say, I definitely will take the time to look at those. So once again, thank you for joining me. My objective for this presentation is, first of all, to give you some background and some philosophy about this approach. If any of you have ever been on a quest to learn something, you have probably had the experience where you have learned something and think, wow, that's amazing. That's the answer. That's the answer. That's going to solve all my problems in whatever it's going to be. And then something really interesting happens. If you continue that journey, let me just actually bring myself a bit more into shot here. If you continue that journey, that light looks like a hat on me, doesn't it? If you continue that journey of learning, something really interesting happens. What happens next is you learn something else. You go, I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. There is actually a lot more to know here. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about keep researching, keep learning, is it keeps evolving. But what you need is a common theme of what you're trying to do. And my common theme for 30 plus years is, how do I find a more natural, sustainable way to play the game of golf? And a lot of this has been driven out of my own frustration with the game. I feel like I have, as a golfer, obviously I don't play as much now because I'm coaching, but when I was younger, and that's all I wanted to do was play, I just had this desire to be the best player in the world. And I felt like, quite frankly, there wasn't many people, if anybody, working harder. I was putting in every moment I could. That could be at home working out, exercising in the winter. It would be practicing under headlights of the car when I was old enough to drive. I really was what you would call dedicated. But quite frankly, I actually went through a spell where I just got worse because I was trying so hard. I was trying everything. I was trying to perfect everything based on what was available to me in the golf industry at the time. And I was getting worse. I was just becoming a jumbled mess in my head. I could practice really well. I'd be brilliant on the practice ground. People would look at me and go, wow, amazing swing, hits the ball nicely. And even in situations on the course, that would be true, but I just couldn't maintain that. I just couldn't keep that going. And so it was a very frustrating journey for me. So really, this journey of 30 plus years has been partly driven out of my own frustration and my own quest to understand more, to try and make it simpler. So my point is that as you keep learning things, you discover something new, something extra that makes you realize, I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. And that's fine. It keeps evolving, it keeps evolving. So this presentation is really to share with you some of the best of what I've learned to this point. And particularly in maybe the last 5 or 7 years, I've applied a lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight in my work, and it has been quite profound. There are golfers now that I am able to help that I wasn't really as effective with as I wanted to be before. And that's a really important point, because I've always tried to take the mindset as a coach that it's my responsibility. It doesn't matter who's in front of me. It doesn't matter how much of a struggle they're going through. It doesn't matter how difficult it is for them. It was never their problem. It's my problem. They've come to me. My job is to solve that. It means I've got to learn to either communicate more effectively. I've got to more research to be able to help them in the situation they're in. And that's always the approach I've taken. That doesn't mean to say I've been able to help everybody. There's been times when I just haven't. but it's driven me. It's like that stays with me. It's like, okay, I need to find solutions. And all I can say is that over the last 5 years or so, through this work and some of what I'm going to share with you this evening, I've been able to find solutions which have made a huge difference to a greater number of people. And very interestingly, to some of those people I've been unable to be successful with in the past. So I know that I'm uncovering something which really does make a difference. And so that's why I'm excited to be able to share that with you. Now, I am going to say it's a different approach. It is different. And so just have an open mind for that. As I often say to people when they used to come to seminars in real person, I would say to them, you're going to hear something different. Have an open mind, embrace it, listen to it. If at the end of the day, you don't really like what you've heard, I can promise you all that old information that you believed in will still be at the door waiting for you, and you can collect it on your way out. So I give you that same invitation for this presentation. Please have an open mind. Just listen, think about it. Does it connect with you? Does it resonate with you? If it doesn't, then thank you for your time. And I promise you all your old stuff will still be there waiting for you. And there'll be no hard feelings, hopefully, either way. So just have that open mind as we go through, because it will be different. So I'm going to share a bit of a philosophy about what we're going to do. I'm then going to make it practical. And I'm going to make that practical in a way that you can do it indoors. And I think that's important. You know, you're listening to me. I'm indoors. I want to do it this way so I can show you some of the practical things you can do. And then I'll give you a fast track option at the end of a little exercise that you can go through again indoors, which will take everything we're going to do, everything I'm going to talk about, and give you a fast track way of feeling that, so that then you've got more chance of being able to apply that into your golf game when you go and practice and play next time. So that's really what we're going to do. That sounds good. Then stay with me and we'll go through it. I'm going to also, so I'll give you that fast track right at the end. I'm also going to let you know about something which I think you'll find quite interesting as well as we get towards the end of the presentation. So without further ado, let's get into what we're going to do. Okay. So I'm just going to flick between these different slides here. And by the way, I call this, let me just actually stay with that for a moment. I call it putting the human back into golf. Let me just elaborate on that, because it is important you get. I said to you it's going to be different. If I could put that into some summary, a nutshell, technology has been amazing in many areas, and it's helped us understand many things. It gives us data which is useful for us to know what's happening. But also, technology has taken us away from being a human being. And that's what I mean about putting the human back into golf. Long before golf was around, long before this technology was around, we have this amazing machine of a brain and a body that if ever you spend any time researching what is possible and what's capable and actually what goes on in your brain and body, you'd be blown away. You'd be in awe of that. No machine, I think, would ever be able to match that, I don't think. And so the trouble is, did you ever get an owner's manual of how to use this brain and body in different situations? Of course, the answer to that is no. And so putting the human back into golf is really actually making sure we lay the foundations properly in your golf swing and in your golf game. And the foundations are you. They are the foundations, how you design to move, how you design things. What is the true anatomy, the true movement that your body needs to go through to produce the very best golf swing, okay? That's really what it's about. And it's the technology then can be a useful feedback mechanism after that, but keep coming back to the foundations, because it's the foundations that you build upon in order to get the lasting success. The challenge with so much of the technology is it's throwing out different concepts and different ideas from a golf swing perspective, different positions we can get into, all these type of things. Fine, but if it's not built on solid foundations, it may not give you a sustainable result. You may get this rush of an instant fix and you think, wow, that's brilliant, and you hit the ball better straight away, but invariably that disappears as well. And we want to change that. That's what putting the human back into golf is about, is actually layering the foundations properly for you as a human being about the way you're designed to move and think. And if we can do that, then we have something solid to work on. And just think of this, by the way, as a building analogy. If I maybe just use this as an example here, you can see that okay. So if I was doing a building, I would be putting solid foundations into that building so that I can then build the foundations there, so I can then build this solid building on top of that. Those foundations are critical. We all know that. It's very obvious. Those foundations are critical. If I don't put those foundations in, there's a chance in a storm that building is going to collapse and fall over. There's a chance that it's going to tear, it's going to fracture, it's going to have some problem to its structure if they're not put in properly. We know that. And I think this is a good analogy for the golf swing as well, because if we don't put the foundations in properly for the golf swing, we could be adding things onto it, positions, ideas, etc., that don't have a solid foundation to build upon. So it's a bit like if I was to, put an extension onto this house, but not put the foundations in, that extension is vulnerable. Under stress, it's vulnerable. The stress of weather, the stress of movement in the ground, it's vulnerable. And so please take that analogy for your golf, because if you are trying to add a position into your golf swing, you're trying to change a plane or you're trying to change a path, it may well be that technology has told you that's what you need to do, and that's fine. But actually, is the reason that something deeper, something more fundamental that's causing the problem? And that's what my interest is in, and that's what putting the human back is in. Let's understand this foundation. And here's the exciting thing: when you understand the foundation, you realize there isn't actually as much to work on as what you probably are currently experiencing. Because when you get this right, this becomes easier to do, and it doesn't fall apart. It doesn't fall apart. Therefore, you're not going back year after things, and we're trying to add them on, but we didn't get the foundations right in the first place. And that's risky, So let's not get caught away with what looks pretty and all that stuff. Let's actually get deeper down into those foundations, because I think if we can do that, you will have less to worry about. Whereas if you're just, let's say adding this nice extension on, but you didn't do the foundation, there's a pretty good chance in a period of time you're going to have to come back and try and fix some of this and do some repair work to that to keep it standing up. And putting the human back into golf is really going into the foundations so that you have less repair work to do. If you have less repair work to do, it needs less attention, therefore it's less thinking going on. It's more enjoyable overall, and it works and it lasts. Okay, and so that's really what putting the human experience back into golf is all about, is trying to build that solid foundation. There's a very important saying to remember, and I just put it up here, and it's on the slide in a moment. No such thing as advanced. Okay, there's no such thing as advanced. Okay, there is only, I'll just put this here for now, no such thing as advanced, and then I'm just going to put basics underneath it. Basics. Okay, there's no such thing as advanced. There's only knowing the basics in more detail. Okay, the advanced is the magnificent stuff that happens when you get the basics right. The things I said, if you ever take the time to explore what the brain and body are doing on a moment-by-moment basis, it's phenomenal. That's very advanced. We have to give it the basics, okay? So from a body perspective, you might give it the basics of nutrition, air, light, movement, all those type of things. And then the body is very capable of doing a huge amount. We get the foundations right in the golf swing, we get the basics right, and get those basics really spot on, the advanced stuff happens. So remember, there is no such thing as advanced. Don't worry about advanced. Get the basics right. And by the way, I'm not, in what I'm going to share with you, I'm not talking about the basics that you might immediately think of: grip, setup, posture, alignment. I'm not going to talk about those really. It's not to say they don't have a value and a place. These are different, baby. These are basics about your true anatomy, the way you're designed to move relative to a golf swing. Okay, that's what we're trying to do here. That's our focus of attention. So yeah, just remember that part there. Okay, so when you get your movements right, let me just lower you down a little bit here. Okay. When you get the basics right, when you lay the foundations right, you start to be able to move your body in a more appropriate way for the shot you're about to hit. Something really interesting happens when you do that. When you're using your anatomy to the best of your ability, and by the way, we know that all of us have different abilities to move. We're different ages, we have different lifestyles. That doesn't matter. That does not change the basics. Doesn't matter. So don't be thinking, oh, I'm 75 years of age and I haven't had a very active lifestyle, so I'm not going to be able to do these movements. Yes, you will be able to do them to an extent, whatever that is. Here's a really another important thing. Every single, and this is actually a really exciting part, so I have to come in close for this part. This is really quite amazing again when you get this. When you make a change to the basics on something that matters, i.e. something that's fundamentally sound, your true anatomy, it has this beautiful ripple effect through the rest of the system, through the rest of the swing, through the rest of it. Has this amazing ripple effect because you went to the foundation. So again, we go to the example here, you know, and I'm not a builder, by the way, but my basic understanding, if we've got a foundation which is not good, it might have to be underpinned, mightn't it? We might have to come in and underpin it with a concrete slab to support it. The moment we do that, when we just make that little tweak, it has a ripple effect effectively through the rest of the building, or at least it gives that building a better chance of staying upright, okay? We can then repair the rest of the building knowing it's not going to crack again, okay? That little detail, that little shift, that little millimeter of shift has a ripple effect through, and that is so exciting. So it doesn't matter dealing with your natural anatomy, your natural body, your body will start to shift and change to make that even more effective as well. Does that make sense? So don't worry about what you think you can and can't do. Just follow along, give it some time, be patient with it, and we're looking for that constant and never-ending improvement, not that quick, rushed improvement. And that's again number one of the challenges in our golfing world, in our world generally. We all want this instant gratification. We want a result instantly. We want that result now. And yes, that maybe does give it to everyone, but if it's not built in the right way, it's probably going to disappear as quick as it came. And so my plan, my objective for you is to be able to give you, I want you to get quick results, and it's actually really possible. That's one of the other things I'm experiencing. People are getting pretty quick results, but providing they stick to the fundamentals, then those results last and they can actually get better and better. Rather than being on this yo-yo experience, they can actually have this nice, what I call constant and never-ending improvement, that gradual improvement. So that's the objective. That's what we're going to try and do. These are the fundamentals we're going to build upon. Okay, so let me just bring back in here again. All right, okay. There are 4 movements, as it says there, that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. But you're actually going to be hopefully pleased. It's going to be even simpler than that. There's one main thing you need to get right. To get that one thing right, there are 4 things that need to happen. That's what we're going to be looking at tonight. So yeah, let's go through a bit further. Some of this I would have already discussed, so I'm just checking it's as much as anything keeping me on track as well. So the outcome from the webinar, yeah, I hope if you just follow along with me, you have an open mind, you're going to feel more enthusiastic about your swing. You're going to feel like you've got a simpler approach to do that. And also you have an understanding of why you may not have been able to make the change of the part. You may have this understanding that actually I've kind of been chasing the pretty stuff, you know, the decoration. I haven't really understood the true basics. I might have understood the golfing basics, but there's something deeper than that. And that maybe is, by the end of this presentation, you might have a deeper understanding of that, so you might know why you haven't been able to keep that lasting change going. And you'll have some simple practice routines to do at home. I think this is really important. We can make great progress away from the golf course, actually. And some of the movements I'm going to give you, I'm going to be saying to you that, yes, we want those movements in the golf swing. And let's be honest with ourselves. If we can't make those movements away from the golf swing, we're not likely to do them in the golf swing. So let's practice them at home slowly and easily, just a few minutes, and get used to those movements so they can actually be available to us in the golf swing when it comes to it. Does that make sense? That's what we're going to try and do. And I've already said there's no such thing as advanced, only knowing the basics in more detail. Okay, again, I would have covered some of this, why the human approach is different. You know, the traditional approach, let me just again bring you out here for a moment. The traditional approach really has a lot just come from the golf industry. And you go, well, that's logical, Scott. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to improve at golf, and let me go to the golf industry and figure out what they're telling me to do. There's a problem with that. And it comes back to this technology thing again. It's just, we're seeing things very much what I call a surface level when we do that. We're not going deeper. And it's not that when you hear tour players talking about this swing, and I've had the good fortune of working with many of them for a lot of years, what they describe might be what they think they're doing. It may not actually be truly what's going on at a deeper level. And so it can still be misleading. It's not they're trying to mislead. It's just that there's a different level of understanding deeper down that, again, how the human body works, most of us don't really know. And it's even hard to put into words. And let me give you a practical example of this. There's a game I play when I do seminars, and we call it the standing up game. And quite simply, I have somebody from the audience come up and we get them to lay down flat on the ground, on their back. And we invite two other people up to say to them, okay, would you explain to this person on the ground how to stand up? Talk them through the actual way their body needs to move to get them from off their back to standing up on their feet. And I say to the person on the ground now, when they give you instructions, think about that. Is that actually, how do I do that? You know, is there something else I need to understand? And we start the game, and it is hilarious because the person on the ground ends up sometimes flat on their face. They end up all kind of knotted up with their body. It's like the Kama Sutra on steroids. I mean, it just is hilarious. And after a while, they realize, you know what? I don't know how I stand up. I don't really understand all these different things that go on inside the body to get me to do that. And so looking at just what's in the golf industry, I would say the majority of that is coming from looking at what the best players do and either looking at them on video, on 3D, on TrackMan, those type of things, looking at what they do and say, well, they're the best players, therefore that's what we need to do. And of course, there is some logic in that, and there's things to learn from that. But equally, I'm going to say to you, some of those best players are getting injured. And so therefore, maybe, are they really using their body in the way it's designed to be used, in the way aligned with true anatomy? Is there a more effective way of working? And so that's really, again, what this is about. More interested in putting the human back into golf is to think about how you're designed to move and trying to help you move in a way that can give you that better results without hopefully getting injured, okay, at least reducing the chance of that. So that's my challenge with the traditional approach, is that yes, I'm not dismissing it. It has a place, it has value, but actually I think that still, some of that is still decoration. We want to go a little bit deeper. And when we do, it simplifies things. It simplifies things. When you take the human approach, what will happen is it will simplify. You'll have less to think about, and you'll actually learn to feel more. One of the things I try and say to my clients a lot is, I want to stop you thinking, I want to get you feeling. So when you're standing over a golf shot, when you're playing, practicing, when you're standing over it, I don't want you feeling like you're instructing yourself what to do. Telling you, right, now, remember to this, Scott, do this with your hand, this with your legs, this with your shoulder, this with your head. I don't want you going through those set of instructions. I want it to have become a feeling. And when we explore how to use our body effectively, we can do that. We can turn that into a feeling which reduces the amount of thinking, which reduces the amount of instruction, and then it becomes one more whole fluid movement. We start to move as a whole rather than in this disjointed fashion because we're trying to tell ourselves what to do. So the human approach, again, will give you that feeling and simplify the whole thing for you. Okay. So Let's just make sure. Yeah, we've talked about that. Constant and gradual improvement. And taking ownership of your swing. This is really important. In fact, there's a saying I want you to remember, and I'll just pull up a clue here just to give you, is that you won't feel like a tour player, as I'm going to start with. So you won't feel like a tour player. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay. But what I mean by that is it doesn't matter how much you look at a tour player's swing. It doesn't matter how much you try and practice that, how much you try and copy their swing. You will never feel the way they feel because it isn't your swing. Just get that clear in your mind. You won't, no matter how much you try and copy, you're not going to feel the way they feel because you're almost, again, you're trying to copy this model rather than the only model I'm advising you should be interested in is your model. Your model. How do I move? What's the best movement for me? What's the movement I'm missing right now that's going to help unlock a better golf swing for me? When you do that, then you own your own golf swing. You take charge of your own golf swing. And that's a far different experience. When you do that, you're searchless. You won't feel the need to be looking around as much, trying all different things. Okay, you'll feel like, no, I know what it is for me. I've got these fundamentals down. I know which ones I need to work on. Let me do that. And you'll feel in charge and own your own swing. Okay. All right. So again, we will touch upon this, but I'm just tidying up and going through so that I make sure again that I stay on track before we get into the practical to show you some of the things you can actually do to experience this human approach that I'm referring to here. Okay. So if you don't take on this approach, if you just what I call stick with too much of the traditional, what are some of the risks that you may come against? Well, you might feel forever trapped searching for the next secret because you're dealing with the decoration, you're dealing with the surface level stuff, you haven't gone down, so you're going to keep looking for the next one. And you know, one of the worst things that can happen is actually you find something that works, because what happens is if you're into this quick fix idea, you find one that works, and of course it fuels the temptation to do it again when that one stops working. You go, well, I found one before, there must be another one. And so you never get off this cycle going round and round and round in circles. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. That's one of the risks that you have. You might, a link to that, you might feel like you're always working on something new. You know, what's the next latest thing? Oh, there's new technology out, there's new ideas about this. You could get stuck on that rather than drilling back down to the human fundamentals, the human experience. That leads to the overthinking, the over-trying. We know that doesn't work. Anytime you're over-trying with something, that was my story. Just tried so hard, overthinking, over-trying, and just got in my own way as a result of that. And that leads to the next one. You're not going to enjoy your golf to the maximum when you're in that state. It's just not. It doesn't matter what you do. You're never going to hit every shot perfect. You're never going to hit every shot great. You're going to have better days and bad days occasionally, okay? But it's just knowing what to come back to, okay, so that it can be enjoyable. So you don't have to go on this emotional roller coaster that we've spoken about. The insanity trap is what Einstein said. It's when you are repeating your actions of yesterday and expecting a better result today. So like, if you're caught in this trap of always searching stuff, always trying to do different things, looking for the next secret, and you keep doing that the next day, but you're hoping it's all going to get simpler and better, well, that's kind of insanity because you're repeating the actions of yesterday, but expecting today to be better. So don't do that. And it can get expensive. I don't mean necessarily financially. I mean just emotionally, you know, in terms of the drain it can create. And we know that golf affects life. We know if you're into golf, we know golf affects life. We want to learn things that actually can help us feel better generally, so we can take that into our life as well. Okay. All right. Now, what you can expect if you do follow this advice, again, touched on most of it, a golf swing that feels simple and reliable, golf swing that you own. Okay. That's really important. Improved accuracy and power from finding the sweet spot more often. You know, that's really key is when you move in a way, as I'm going to show you, there's one main thing, but there's 4 movements that allow it to happen. What happens is you'll just start to find the sweet spot a lot more consistently without really even trying. That's one of the most common experiences that I find with people. There will be less to work on, so you won't be searching as much. You'll save time there. Less prone to injury because you're moving your body in a more natural way. Relative to what you're trying to do. That's really important, by the way. It's relative to the shot you're trying to hit. That's really clear. You'll get a clearer mind. So you'll be, like I said, I was really in my own way a lot. And when you're moving, when you're thinking better and doing things that are more natural, you start to get out of your own way much more. Okay, and golf becomes less hard work and much more enjoyable as a whole. Okay, right. Let's get into some of the practical for you here. Okay. You may have just seen on the screen. Learn to move your body weight. Let me just bring it up again because I may have just taken it off a little bit quick for you. Let me just show you that again. Learn to move your body weight in an organized way. I consider that to be really the holy grail. Okay. And once you learn to move your body weight in an organized way, then I'm going to show you the 4 movements that allow that to happen. So what do I mean by that? Moving your body weight in an organized way. And this really comes from, this understanding comes from a lot of different movement activities, martial arts, etc. When you as a golfer understand how to feel and take charge of the movement of your body weight, you'll start to create a coordination with the rest of the swing, okay? The rest of the swing and how that club moves. Organizing and moving your body weight in the right way will start to direct the golf club in the direction you want it to move. It will start to stabilize the golf club for you to have better contact, straighter, more powerful shots, okay? That's what the promise is if you grasp this. Your center of mass, just keep it nice and simple, is pretty much in the center of your body, around your pelvis area here, your center of mass. Therefore, everything, however you move this, in whatever direction you move it in whatever rotation you move it in, whatever forward and back you move it in, wherever you move this, it's going to have an influence to everything above and below. I'm trying to make sure I get the best shot here. Okay, it's going to have an influence to everything above and below. You may have just seen that as I did that. So as I said, I move it here. You see the shape my body creates. As I move this, other things start to respond. You know, if I throw my weight over here, can you start to see? So all I'm doing is moving the center of mass. As I do that, things above and below start to respond. Now, let's go back to one of the things I said earlier. We're all coming at this from different stages, different ages, different mobilities, abilities. Therefore, when I go through some of the movements, you may think, well, compared to you, Scott, I'm not doing it very much. It doesn't seem to be like, that's fine. You may be doing it more than me. That's fine. It's all about you feeling it and understanding the movement. And then gradually, as you do, like anything, because it's a natural movement, you'll start to get a better range of movement with it. Okay, so just be patient with yourself in that. Now, let me now put this holy grail. The holy grail is moving and organizing your body weight in a way that's going to give you the outcome you want. Let me put this into a non-golfing analogy. I think it makes sense. Then we're going to bring it back to golf. So keep going back to the holy grail, organizing and moving your body weight in the way you want. Okay, that's what it is. Think of that way. Right. Let's say I was going to be pushing an object towards you here. Let's say I had an object here that was heavy that needs to be pushed along. How am I going to do that? I'm going to get my weight and my stance. Okay, I'm going to put my hand, push my body weight in a nice straight line forward here. That is organizing and moving my body weight in a way that is appropriate for shifting that object along. Yes, so from here, it's going to look like that. I'm going to move. You can see my whole body weight is moving to go in that direction. Right, now, you think that's pretty simple and logical. Great. Now, what if, though, in trying to do that same movement here, I actually threw my body weight in a different direction? So in other words, I started to shift my body weight over there, but I'm trying to move the object there. Can you see a couple of things happen? It's not going to be very powerful, not going to be very effective, and it might hurt. I might start to get some injuries in my body if I kept repeating that. So my body weight is going in a very different place to where I'm trying to shift this object. That makes sense, okay? Doesn't matter what it is. If I was trying to move the object this way, but my body weight was going up more than it was going forward, you see again, I'm not going to be particularly effective at shifting that object forward. Okay, very simple, hopefully, analogy that you can see. When I organize and move my body weight in the appropriate way, I'm going to be better at the task. If I'm organized and move my body weight, or if my body weight is unorganized relative to the task, I'm not going to be as effective. I have probably more chance of being injured. Okay, that's it. So in the golf swing, what we're looking for is we are looking to organize and control and move our body weight in an organized manner. Okay, that is the holy grail. Okay, you might think, well, okay, it's really simple, but how do I do that? I'm going to come to that. Okay, I'm going to share with you these movements that need to happen. But that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to organize and move that body weight in a manageable way. When we do that, as I said, what happens is we start to create a much better coordination of everything around us, i.e. the extremities, the arms, the shoulders, the wrists, the hands, the club, etc. We get much better organization and coordination there. That's really what organization is. Okay, compare that to the example I gave. So let's actually now look at it from a golfing perspective. I'll just bring you down a tiny bit lower. Okay, if I show that in a golfing perspective, if I'm going to hit the golf ball towards you, okay, if I organize and move my body weight in a controlled way, what's going to happen is that club's going to come down, it's going to go where I want it to go towards my target, and I'm going to have a pretty good chance of a good shot. Okay, that body weight, if you watch the center of my body, the center of my, it's pretty organized moving where I want. Now, if I send my body weight over here, okay, can you see now my weight, forget rotation, forget open hips, forget all of that for a moment. Forget positions, think weight. Where's the energy of my weight going? The energy of my weight is going over here towards, in my case, my left heel over there. The target hasn't moved. You're still the target. Can you now see that the effect that body weight is going to send the club, my arms, over to where the body weight is going? In the same way, when I'm pushing this object, if my body weight goes solidly forward, the object goes with me in the same direction. Okay? Even in the golf swing, if my body weight is moving in the direction I want, the golf club, my hands and arms go in the direction I want. If my body weight is going over here, but the target is still there, I've now got a bat on my head. My arms will go where the body weight is going. I will now compensate in some way, or try to compensate in some way, to correct what I've done. Depending on how well I time that, I may correct it and hit a decent shot. But a lot of the time I may not. That comes again down to our own ability to compensate, coordinate things. That's an individual thing. But can you see straight away? Now, look at another example. If, when I'm coming in to hit the shot, my weight starts to go forward this way towards the ball. Can you see what it's doing to my posture? Okay. Can you see the effect that might have now on how that club is going to release? It's going to move again in a very different way. So forget about the fact that whether you think, most people go, oh, your hips are not open, you just need to open your hips more. Well, that's surface level still. Let's talk about where's the weight gone. The weight's gone here forward. What if I kept the weight more centered and moved it the way I want? Immediately, the joints would start to move in a more effective way, okay? So I want to just labor this point slightly. Don't think positions for now, think weight. Think about learning to feel and understand, where does my weight go in the golf swing? Where does my weight go when I'm swinging, particularly on the way down? Of course, it's relevant on the way back because it is a chain reaction. But where is my weight traveling? Can I start to organize and take charge of my weight? Now, in order for you, and by the way, we know that everybody's golf swing is always going to look different. We can look at the best players in the world who hit the ball similarly, but actually all move in a very different, their golf swing all looks different. But their commonality is they have control of their body weight, okay? So if you can start to that, you'll bring a much better level of control. What we're going to go through in a moment is, in order for you to have the best chance of organizing and moving your body weight in the way you want, there are 4 things your body, your structure needs to do. Your joints. Let's think of it as your joints, because I'll come into that now. There are 4 things it needs to do. If your joints are not used to doing those 4 things, your ability to control your body weight is reduced. It's reduced. So that's what we're going to look at. And I'm going to give you those 4 things. I'm going to show you how to do those 4 things so you can start to build them into your system. Okay. Hope this is making sense. Again, if you have any questions as we go through, pop them into the chat. And if I don't, I will. Muscles react. Okay. It's the joints that we are working with. That's your structure. We want to be able, your joints, your skeleton is what gives you your shape. Okay. Therefore, how you move those joints and that structure in the golf swing gives your body and your golf swing its shape. Okay. Depending on how you use them. So the movements we're going to go through here is helping you learn to move those joints effectively. Now you can own your own golf swing. You can start to move your body in the way it's designed to move. You're actually going to begin to move through your own structure, through your own joints. You're starting to actually create movement that matters. And when you get the movement that matters, you'll start to coordinate so much more around you. And I can promise you, this is a really important thing to grasp. There will be less to think about. Okay, so let's actually talk a little bit about some of the things that start to get dissolved in the golf swing when you do it well. Okay, so that's going to be really important, because some of you might be saying, but Scott, how's this going to help me with stopping coming over the top? How's it going to help me stopping slicing? How's it going to help me stop topping the shot? Let's just get a little bit into that now. Okay, some of the actually, beg your pardon, I'm going to pause one moment. Let me bring something up, because then in the context, it's going to be a little more effective to do that. Then I'm going to come back to that very point there. Okay. So let me just quickly bring up this again here. Okay. So we've got this part here, learn to move the body weight in a controlled way. Right. These are the 4 things that I wanted to bring up, and then I'm going to go back and carry on where I left off there. So there are 4 movements. All right. Let me just quickly go through them here, and then I'll bring you back in. I'm going to start to show you how you can actually do them. Movement number 1, and you're seeing it says in red there, are your brain and body aligned? And again, I'm going to touch upon this a bit more, because when you can get your brain and body aligned, what that means is that your brain knows what you're trying to do. You hit a golf ball. It knows where the target is. It knows where the bunkers. Your brain works this stuff out in a heartbeat. It sees it all very fast. So the brain knows what you're trying to do. If the body now moves in a way which is appropriate for that shot, i.e. in line with its true anatomy, the brain and the body do this. They become aligned as one. And you can probably instantly sense that when your brain and your body are aligned as one, it's just a lot easier. It feels better. There's less brain noise going on. There's less compensation going on, etc. That's what we're going to try and do. So the 4 movements are, number 1, the rotation of your joints. Okay. Now you may go, well, that's a really obvious one, because that's turning, isn't it? But I'll come back to that in a moment. Number 2, the ability to vary the range of movement in your joints. Okay. Because not every part of the body needs to do the same amount of movement in the golf swing. In fact, we don't want it doing that. We want them all to do their relative amount. So that's a really important part as well. Number 3, the side bending of your joints in the spine. This is a critical one that's often forgotten. So we'll go through that. And then number 4 is the height change in your structure. So the joints changing height relative to each other as you go through movement. Really important as well. So build your swing on these movements to align the brain and body. And it says the joints act, muscles react. Okay, so that's what we're going to go through now. Okay, and I'm going to put that into context. Okay, so let me start to talk about. I picked up on. I left it off with, you're probably just thinking, okay, that sounds great. I just want to stop coming over the top of it. I'll stop when I slice it. I'll stop on the top of the ball. Great. Okay. So let's now have a look, because what I'm saying is the closer that you can come to managing, controlling your body weight in the swing, which you're going to do from these 4 moves, the closer you can come to that, the more coordinated the whole swing becomes, the less compensation you require, the less of what you see typically as the swing flaws will start to dissolve. They will start to reduce because you've built it from the foundation up. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So let's just now pick on a couple of parts. The side bend of the spine is an often forgotten one and really important. So there's a difference. One of the most misleading terms, I think, in golf is the idea of turning. Okay, but it's one of the most common. And you might say straight away, but I've had success trying to turn. Maybe that the idea of turning helped for a while. But turning is this, isn't it? If I said to you turn, you would go, there's a turn, really. I said to you turn without moving your feet like the golf swing, there's a turn, okay? Well, that turn we are used to as a horizontal level, okay? When we do that or turn in this way, the spine is only rotating, it's not side bending. In a golf swing, we are asking ourselves to form a posture over a golf ball, which typically looks something like this. And we know, all of us know really, that when we swing, we want to be able to stay pretty much in that posture as we swing. And we want to stay pretty much central. Let's just keep it as simple as that, okay? So I want to stay in this posture. I want to stay pretty central. I hope everybody agrees with that. In order to do that and to have a reasonable amount of rotation, your spine is side bending while rotating. So let's just put that into a visual here. Okay, my spine is nice and vertical here. I'm going to do it this way. As I rotate around the posture, now my spine is this shape here. It's gone into like a C shape here. That's the side bend. I then come down to hit the golf ball. I stay in my posture here. Now my spine is side bend this way. Okay, this is really, really critical. Put that into the context of coming over the top, coming across the line, etc. When I can stay in my posture and side bend properly, what happens is it holds my shoulders and my arms into my structure. So now I have this type of shape going on in my body here. So the club is delayed longer, so I get the benefit of lag, which a lot of people like to be able to work on. I get the benefit of timing, that the club head is coming through last. But I get the benefit of this compact movement where my arms and shoulders stay close to my structure. So from this way, with that side bend here, you can see now the path and the plane are spot on. So there's no way am I coming over the top when I side bend. Okay, compared to just turning here, can you now see that could lead to an over the top movement and across the line? So a lot of the worries that we might have in our golf swing, a lot of the judgments we might make, the things we might see on video, again, I would say before you worry about fixing them, come back to our foundations, our basics of body weight and these movements, and give yourself a chance to work on them and see how that feels. See what impact that has on the way you then hit the ball, the way you feel like you move in the golf swing. Because if you do, my experience is I think you'll be pleased with how much simpler things become and how some of those older faults, you don't need to work on them quite as much. In other words, you don't need to underpin and repair things that have cracked as much. Okay, so let's take another example, of let's say a top shot. Again, a top shot we might say is, if I do it from this way, that I have lifted up. I've had this early extension here. My weight's gone forward. That's lifting up here. I now have to generally release earlier, but I don't get to the bottom of the ball here. Okay, and at that point here, by the way, you can see that almost everything is lined up the same amount. You know, my chest, my hips, my knees are pretty much all about the same point. In other words, there is no separation, no varying degrees of range of movement, which we're going to come to again in a moment. So in that situation, that can lead to the top shot, where again, if I just get better at the movements, i.e. better at my body being able to move different degrees, that side bend, it holds me in this posture. Therefore, my head effectively stays down without trying to keep it down. Therefore, the club reaches the ball and I don't get the top shot. So once again, if we just keep going back to some of these basic movements and work on them, some of those swing flaws disappear. Let me go to one other one, which is a really big one I know for many golfers, and this is pitching. If you've had the yips with your pitching, where you're standing over a pitch shot and it's only 30 yards, 40 yards away, you can get very nervous over them because you know that if you miscue that and you thin it, it goes probably 60 yards. You know, if you hit it fat, it probably goes 5 yards. And so it's so extreme based on what you're trying to do, they can create a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiety over those shots. Now, in pitching, we know that we don't need much power. We need precision. We need finesse, okay? We need for our golf club to swing up and down and come back to a precise point where that ball is in order to hit that shot well. Now, just think about what I just said. We need that golf club to travel up and down, okay? If I want to be able to take that golf club up and down and control it, then my structure needs to give it the foundation for that. So what does my structure need to do? My joints need to go up and down, okay? And in the pitch shot, it's more relevant for that than any other swing in a way, because we're not looking for so much power. Now, most of us would think of in a pitch shot, we know the club needs to go up and down, but invariably we're doing it through our wrists and our arms. Okay, so by me hinging and cocking the wrist, I can get that club to go up quite nicely in plane there. However, again, if it's not built on the right foundation, if I haven't looked at the structure, if I haven't looked at the joints, if I haven't looked at the true anatomy of how I move and control my body weight, if I haven't looked at that, I may get this part okay, but I haven't got this stable foundation to work to, and that can still create a misalignment with our brain and our body, and that can create compensation even at a micro level, which add that to a little bit of mental anxiety, and you can still get a disaster. And so you can have a pitching action, you go, people tell me it looks quite good, but you're nervous over it, and the shots invariably are miscued and therefore not what you're after, disastrous results. So it isn't enough to go to the surface level and say, well, to get an up and down movement, it comes from the club here. It has to come from the joints as well. My structure, when I set up, if I took a line through my hips and my knees, if we keep it with it pretty level. When I want to pitch, actually, they need to change height. They need to change height. Now, think of, again, one of the most common pieces of advice in golf is turn. Oh, you need to turn more. And that's very true in pitching. Turn, here's turn. No change of height. No change of height. Now it's completely dependent on my wrists and my arms changing height, and that is not built on a stable foundation. And so it may work, but there's every chance it won't, and you won't get sustainability. You're just, some days it's worked, some days it doesn't. That creates confusion. That creates the search for the next perfect secret out there. Okay, I don't want you to do that. I want you to drill down into the true fundamentals, because if you do, you'll build a solid foundation. Does that make sense? So I hope you're seeing that actually, if we attack this in the right way, if we approach this in the right way, you really do build a proper foundation. And therefore you start to get the movements which are appropriate for the shot. And that's when you get your brain and body in alignment. That's when things can start to simplify. And I can assure you that from experience, for myself and for many others as well. So let me just come back in here again and check, make sure I'm on track. We'll go again. Any questions, just feel free to fire them over. Okay, so there's the 4 movements. I'll come back to the moment. Here's just some of the shots I spoke about that we can start to improve. Now, so I'm now going to take you through priming your body and wake it up with the 4 movements. Okay, I'm going to actually now give you some little practicals to do. All right, does that sound good? So we're going to go through a simple exercise for each of them so that you can do these at home, which is what I want you to be able to do. Okay, I want you to be able to work on these things at home. All right, so when I go through these, you may go, this is incredibly basic, incredibly simple. Remember, there's no such thing as advanced. It's only knowing the basics in more detail. So So don't underestimate them. Be patient with them. Go slow. This is about feeling. I need you to be able to feel what's going on in your body so that you can own that. If you can't feel it, you will not own it in your body. Remember, if you can't do the movement here away from the speed and pressure of hitting a golf shot, you're unlikely to do it in it. So take your time with this. I'm encouraging you to take this view of constant never-ending improvement. It's not to say you won't get quick improvement, but we're looking to lay the foundations to give you longer-term improvement. Okay, so first of all, we're going to do a movement for rotation, all right? Each movement I go through here, by the way, I want you to stand pretty much with your feet about hip width apart, which is generally narrower than most of us think. So take your hip joints here, come down, you want your feet at that distance apart there. The first movement is one for rotation. And the way it's going to work, I'll explain it, then you can have a go at it. You're going to lift your hand up here, round about shoulder height, palm facing the sky, elbow to the ground. And all you're simply going to do is you're going to take that arm around in a circle level to the ground, okay? Now, as you go round, for all of us at different point, one point you're going to start to feel, oh, it's collected the shoulder. The shoulder's going to go around, the spine's going to want to go around, then the pelvis, the knees, the foot, even down to the foot. I want you to feel this. So in other words, when you get, I just want you to allow that to happen. Allow that now to rotation go through the spine, through the pelvis, and then down into the feet there, okay? Now, when you do that, okay, and by the way, and then follow with the head. Let the head go around with it as well, okay? And let the head go around and just look where the hand is behind. When you do that, on your feet, you are going to feel a change in your feet. So if this is the shape of your feet, as you go back, this one is going to what we call supinate. It's going to arch, okay? So it's going to kind of look like that. It's going to arch. We don't want it rolling off and leaving the ground. We still want it in contact with the ground, but it will slightly arch. So only go for now as far as you can keep it in contact with the ground, but allow it to have that slight arching effect, what we call supination, as you go through that, okay? And you're just going to obviously practice that on both sides. So hand here, just come away from the wall a little bit, okay? Let it go around, collect the shoulder, the spine, the pelvis, the hips, the knee, and down to the foot, okay? And just allow that to happen. Only goes comfortably as far as you can go. Very simple rotational movement to put in there. But the important thing is you're connecting everything from the top of your body down to the bottom of your body, and you are feeling each thing doing its movement, right? Rotation. So you feel the rotation even down to the ankle. You feel it in the foot joints. Your foot is an amazing part of your anatomy. There are 33 joints in each of your feet. Okay, it's the same as the spine has. So don't underestimate when you do this sort of thing. You should be feeling changes going on in the foot. That is connecting the whole body. Now, if you can feel that, you have a far greater chance of being able to integrate that into the golf swing. Okay, varying degrees of movement. Okay, this one here, what we're going to do is you're going to, again, start with the feet hip width apart. My recommendation, I like to put my hands on my chest. And what we're going to practice moving is just the pelvis. So in other words, I'm just going to move my belt around this way, here, just to there. Now, once I've done that, you can see the chest has barely moved. Now, my eyes are going to stay on you. I'm going to turn my chest around. And then finally, I'm going to take my head around as well. Now, once I've done that, I can reverse that. Okay, so it's going to go pelvis, spine, neck, spine, pelvis, okay, and then both ways. All right. Again, if as I'm going through these, if you would like to have reference to these, I'm happy to put something together just so you can have the exercise here, so you can do these at home yourself. So don't worry about that. I will happily share something with you. You can have that. Just let me know. Just put it in the chat or email me, and I will happily put together something just for these exercises, because obviously you're going to probably want to go back and refer to them. So that movement is helping you understand how to vary the amount of degrees of movement in each body. So you actually are taking charge of the body and saying, I can move different parts. That's what we need in the golf swing. In the golf swing, we don't want everything turning the same amount. We need different things, parts of the body doing different things. And again, if you can't access this away from the golf club, away from the golf swing, you've got very little chance of doing it in it. Okay. Now we're going to look at the side bend. Okay, in the spine. This one here, again, what you're going to focus on is your pelvis, which is your center of mass. And we're going to send it in one direction. Okay, now your eyes stay level to the horizon. So doing it in front of a mirror is a good way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is send my pelvis in one direction, let's say towards 3 o'clock on a clock face. Eyes stay level to the horizon. And what you'll start to see, you'll see this side bend appearing in my spine. Now, when I move my pelvis this way, ideally, I don't want rotation in it. I just want it to be in pretty much a straight line to you at the camera there, eyes on the horizon. And when I do that again, what's going to happen is you're going to notice that in my case, my left arm is going to go nice and low because I've got this side bend, this shoulder below. I may even get a slight stretch going through here. Now, I said earlier, some of you may feel you can only get to there. That's absolutely fine. Only go as far as you can keep your weight organized without turning, okay? You don't want to turn. We're just looking for a straight lateral movement here, okay? Only go as far as you can. You'll feel what's happening on your feet. You'll feel your feet responding. This is important. You want to feel the change going on in the feet as we do this, all right? The change that's going up here as we do it. Only go as far as you can go and build it up. What we don't want, though, is this. That's all from the top half, okay? That's an easy temptation and thinking we've done it. That's not, I haven't moved the pelvis. Most of us are not used to working from here, our center of mass. This is what this getting the human experience back is about, taking charge of that center of mass. So just there, that above and below and respond, feel how they respond, notice it, come back to center, and then obviously go the other way as well. Okay, and then the fourth one, changing structure with your joints in their height. Okay, now we're going to do this more like a golf related thing. I'm going to ask you to go into your golf posture, and I'm going to ask you to put the corner of your palm, the heel of your palm, into your hip joints here. Okay, they kind of snugly fit in there really when you get there, if you have a good posture. Okay, so it's an encouragement actually to get a good posture. Then what you're going to do is just make very small movements, and what we're looking for is change height, no turn. Here is turn. That's turn. We're not looking for that. What we're looking for is this slight change of height, slight change of height. No more than that. Slight change of height, slight change of height. Now, as we do that, you will feel as I change height here in my hips, the knee will come forward. It will go into the ankle, into the foot. As I change height here with my hips, the knee will go forward into the ankle, into the foot. That's all I want you to experience is that, the ability to do that. And again, for many of you, you may feel like, wow, I can barely do it. Fine, that's no problem. That's where you're starting from. That's what we're going to gradually build up to do. Okay? They're your four moves. So say if you'd like to have reference to them, I'm happy to put something together for that. All right. Now, I promised you a fast track way of doing this as well. Okay? So let's now come to this here. Okay? And let me just show you something, a good image actually. Okay, so the key feedback for organized moving your body weight is your feet. I've spoken about that as we've gone through the exercise. Now take a look at this image here. That is what's referred to as a tripod foot. Okay, the reason being those three reference points you see on there are your optimal. When you are standing in a normal position, and by the way, when you're set up in your golf position, to have the awareness that those 3 points are in contact with the ground changes it puts your foot anatomy in its optimal structure, that then, like the foundation, if they're in the optimal, everything built above it will have a closer chance of being optimal. If you're only, this doesn't literally happen, but just to prove or to give a point, if you was only on number 1 and number 3, you'd have a collapsed lower structure. Can you now imagine what that does to the ankle, the knee, the hip, the spine? All of that changes, okay? So it really is critical to try and get yourself as close to this as you can. So when you're standing there, be aware of that. Now, I want you to have that image because now I'm going to give you the fast track exercise to actually try and bring all of this together. Now, that does not mean that you do not need to do those 4 movements. You do. You need to practice those 4 movements every day, just for a few minutes, to get your body primed for what we need to do, which, remember, those 4 movements lead to your ability to be able to control your body weight in the swing. That's what it does. That's how it simplifies everything. Okay. I want you to link now the example I gave earlier of pushing a weight forward. Okay. If I can move and organize my body weight in the right way, I'm going to be more effective. Now, think of how that would be on your feet. Your feet would be balanced. They would be using the ground. They'd be pushing the ground to help push this there. In other words, we can get feedback from our feet. We're now going to take that and fast track everything into the golf movement. The simplest way to do that, you can have a club, you don't have to though. Put the club across your chest and cross your arms over. So you do it with or without the club. Go into your golfing posture, okay? And in your golfing posture, I want you to start, first of all, before you move, just think of those 3 points of contact on both feet and try and bring yourself to that place where you feel like you're on those 3 points of contact. Now, whilst there is, when you move your golf through the golf swing, there is a slight variation of how the weight moves on those 3 points. But for now, I want to keep it very simple and just say to you, just be aware of it staying pretty much on those 3 points, okay? But I just want to give that disclaimer. There is a slight variation, but that's not going to be of value to you right now. Simplifying it's probably going to be the better way. So from there, from that posture, being aware of the 3 points, I'm now going to ask you to go through and wind your body up as if you're making a golf swing. And only be aware of what's going on in the feet and organize your weight so that when you make the end of the backswing, your weight will have shifted, in my case, to my right foot slightly. So I can feel all 3 points down here, but I can still lightly feel all 3 points on the left foot. It would have moved towards the right, but let's just go for that for the moment, okay? Now, as you're going through it, if you notice, typically for you, and this is why you must do it slowly, you might notice you go, whoa, actually, I'm going to my right, but I've come off the heel. I'm no longer on that point of contact. Or that actually, I've gone right into the heel and I'm not really on the front two very well, okay? You might, as you go back, might think, wow, I immediately come off my heel of my left foot, okay? Now, again, that's all possible, but for now, let's simplify it to some basics. So what I want you to do is to go very slowly and correct yourself. So if you feel yourself, well, I've gone into my heel, stop. Bring your body weight back to those 3 points, carry on. You feel you're going off again, you feel like you've gone to the outside of your foot, for example. Okay, so that would look like this. You feel like you've gone to the outside, stop, bring yourself back to those 3 points, carry on. Self-correct, micromanage this little movement here so you begin to feel your body weight coming under control. So as you come down into the downswing, as you're coming through here, now the weight is going to shift towards your front foot, in my case, my left foot. I want to feel that across all 3 points of my foot here now, as I go through here now. And then only go to the point where you can control that. Now, of course, in the reality of the golf swing, as I keep going through, I do turn and it will go towards my heel a little bit. But again, for you to feel, we're not after big changes yet, we're after micro changes that lay a foundation for you to go much further, okay? So I want you to take your time, go slow, and as you come through to think, like, where is my body weight now? Is it on 3 points of both feet? Now it should be transferring from my back foot to my front foot. Can I feel that? Or do I feel like it's gone, whoa, it's gone to the front part of my foot? You know, this is an early extension. Has it gone that way? Or has it gone as my demonstration to the back part of my foot too much? Your feet are your proprioceptors to be able to give you feedback of where your body weight is going. Once you can take charge and manage your body weight, everything above and below coordinates to that. I hope you're getting that message. Remember, look, I go here, look what's happened above and below, okay? If I go here, look what's happened above and below. Whatever I do with my center of mass, my body weight, everything else changes as a result of that. Therefore, the holy grail is for you to be able to get hold of this body weight and start to feel how you want to move it. This fast track exercise will help you do it. Fast track in the sense that you will learn much faster. I don't want you doing it fast. I want you doing it super, super slow. And I want you to be stopping and micromanaging. Where am I on those 3 points of contact? Right foot, left foot, where am I? Feel it, feel it, feel it. It's now going from one side to the other, but still on those 3 points. Feel it, feel it, feel it. Feel that connection to the ground. Then you'll start to have control of that body weight. Does that make sense? And as I said, to get the control of that body weight, the more your body is able to go through the 4 movements that we've talked about, the rotation, the side bend, the varying degrees of movement, the up and down, the more it can do that, the more you're able to control your body weight. So hopefully you can now see, if you spend a bit of time practicing at home those 4 movements, your body gets better primed. It's more able to make the movements you want it to make. Okay? It's more able to do it. Now you're in tune with your body. You're owning your own swing. You're owning your own body. Now you can control your body weight in the swing, and that helps to dissolve all these other things and brings a level of organization and coordination that means you will hit it out of the center of the club face much more consistently. And that's what it's all about. That's what we're looking to do. So I hope you're getting that. I hope that's been useful. All right, now, I promise you something else as well. If what I have spoken about has resonated with you, if you're hearing something, you go, okay, this is different, but I'm getting the logic of this. I'm getting why laying these foundations is so important and dedicating my time to these basics and not worry about the advanced stuff. You'll never need to worry about the advanced stuff. That comes automatically. If that's resonating with you, I'd love to share with you, just take a few minutes of your time now, literally a few minutes of your time to share an opportunity with you, which I think will be of interest to you. So if that's okay, obviously I can't hear you all, but if that's okay, I'd love to just do that now. So let me just, if I can, just go through something with you now. Okay, let me just bring something up. Okay, so here is our feet one again. So the opportunity is to join me for 3 days for what I call the Intuitive Golf Experience. It's really my signature program. So as I said, if this has resonated with you in any way, imagine what it'd be like to have 3 days with me where we really delve into these basics to make sure that you do master them, to make sure you actually know exactly what it is you need to do in line with these to get the improvement you want across all areas of your game. Okay, that's what it's about. Now, here's what a few other people have said from basically working on this human approach. Let me just quickly whiz through these. Okay, so from Matthew Squire said, what you've taught me in these lessons has made the biggest impact in my game ever. I have significantly improved the strike and added distance across the bag. In just my second round after the lessons, I scored subpar, which has not happened for 20 years. And I've been suffering with back issues for 2 years, which only really happens when I play golf. Now, after what we've gone through, his back is looser after golf and feeling better. So again, I can't promise that for everybody in terms of those back changes, but that's the potential impact of using your body properly. From one in Chile, these were virtual lessons on the same principles. I've had lessons with many of the world's famous teachers on both the golf swing and the mental game. But after my virtual lessons with you, it's your approach I always go back to when trying to improve my golf. From Mick in the UK, there's a quick text message. Afternoon, Scott, just an update. Feel loads better, more comfortable round, hitting my irons better. Driver was so much better, as was chipping. I feel we are getting somewhere. I'll keep practicing and speak soon. And again, he's saying that, I'll just give you a bit of context, because he was doubtful. You know, can it really be this basic? Can it be this simple? But he's suddenly seeing those changes coming, and so therefore his perseverance is good. And from Neil Ashton, my handicap's cut by 3.1 down to 10.5. It's down to the fundamentals you gave me during my course of lessons, and this was actually from the 3 days. I'm able to recognize what I've done on a particular shot, and therefore I'm able to correct it going forward. This allows me to keep a quiet mind that helps me play better. Well, we all know that, quiet mind play better. It appears you can teach an old dog new tricks. That's what Neil said, which is lovely. Okay, so here's the offer for you. If you feel like you would love to spend 3 days with me to delve into this and more, and by the way, when I do these 3 days, it really is strictly limited on numbers because I make sure I get the one-to-one time with you. I make sure I get to spend time with you personally to make sure you get the changes you need. If this was be of interest to you, I'd love to offer you a bonus. I'm going to share an opportunity that's coming up soon, and there will be other ones as well, but there's an opportunity. As a thank you for spending this time with me on this presentation, just mention this webinar and you'll get a further £100 off the list price. Plus, probably more importantly, I will offer you a month's coaching free. Now, what that means is this is a package I have for clients where I get to work with you virtually for the following month after 3 days, so that not only will you learn to master the principles during the 3 days, but after that, I will give you the opportunity to be able, and we do it through a special app, works really, really well, We communicate that way. You can share your swings, whatever area of the game it is. I share videos back with you. I help you during that month to make sure you truly do stay on track and master those principles. And you can probably imagine how important that is after those 3 days to be able to make sure you keep doing it. You would make great progress anyway, but just to make sure you keep doing that as well. So you'll get that. Just mention this webinar. You'll get the discount, but you'll also get that free coaching worth £297 just from mentioning the webinar as a thank you for being with me now for this time. Now, here is the next dates coming up. It's in PGA Catalunya. If you've not heard of that, it's an amazing golf resort. Often I think voted as the #1 resort in Spain, if not Europe. It's a beautiful venue used by the European Tour, 2 brilliant golf courses, amazing hotels, great practice, just a superb place to go. November the 22nd to 24th, that's the next program available. There will be other dates, obviously. So if you're interested, but you cannot make those dates, just message me and I will keep you informed of when the other ones come up. And the same offer will apply on the next couple of dates as well. Okay, so if you can't make it, but you'd love to come on another one, just let me know about that. But if you can, just simply send me an email, scott@scottcranford.com, and I will get in touch. What I always like to do is have a conversation with you before you finally commit, just to make sure you know in detail a bit more what it's about. I can hear from you what you're trying to achieve, just to make sure we're a good fit, so that I know I can help you get the results you're after, because that's really important to me. It's about helping you get those results you want. So get in touch, scott@scottcranford.com. We will set up a time to have a chat. And if it's right, I would love to have that opportunity to work with you for those 3 days. Okay, great. Now, thank you again. Let me just have a quick look, see if we've got a few minutes just to answer a few questions to see if there's any there.